Everybody. All right. Welcome to the Tuesday, July 1st work session of the Harnett County Board of Commissioners. At this time, I will call the meeting to order, and I'll ask Commissioner Eddie Jaggers for the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, as we call on you this day, we're thankful that we can come down and do county's business. Lord, we just ask that you would give us guidance and direction, Lord, that we do your will. Ask things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. At this time, we will consider any additions and deletions to the published agenda. There is one addition for an item to discuss a letter of support for State Route 1115, which is Buffalo Lake Road and Alpine Drive. It's a roundabout project with DOT. I'd ask that to be added to the agenda. And is there anything further?
Motion to approve the agenda with the addition.
Yeah,
Second.
Don't need a motion. We're good with the consensus on that.
Okay.
All right, discuss a request to approve the lease agreement with NC Forest Service. Mr. Kenneth Snice. Good morning, sir.
I'm here to request the approval for the list of the agreement for NC Forestry Service for a new 3-year period. Forest Services, they intend to continue leasing office space at the Ag Center at 126 Out Center Drive. So that's $200 a month. I just for the offices.
Questions, comments from Mr. Snipes?
I would like for him to. I'm sorry I didn't hear.
I'm sorry. We're asking to approve the lease agreement again with NC Forestry for another 3 years. And this is something that we've been doing for right for a while.
Yeah, they're currently in that.
Yeah, I got you.
New their
I got
lease.
you. I just wanted to make sure be clear on it.
Pleasure of the board to add this to the consent agenda for approval next week.
Thank you so much.
We'll go ahead and add that to the consent agenda. And you're up again, too, to request a award for the pest control services bid.
Yes, sir. We recommend the award the contract to the Home Pest Control based on our 2-year bid of $53,220.
What was the name of the company again? Holman. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Questions, comments? Pleasure of the board.
What's that?
Go ahead and add this consent agenda as well, Madam Clerk. Thank you very much, sir. Discuss a request to award the Jetport Fuel Farm bid to Brown Construction Company. Mr. Brad Abate, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Before you is a request to approve the sole bid that we received for our fuel farm project. We opened it up and had to reopen it, had one bidder. This is the same bidder that is currently doing Duplin County Fuel Farm. They also were the sole bidder for that project and have been doing numerous fuel farm projects from around the state. What you have is the amount of $1,885,890 total for Brow Construction. Of that, $1,758,509 is being covered by grants, and it's a local fund match of $127,381.
Does this cover all of their DOA requirements? Like with their bids, and they're not going to try to kick some back?
And most of that money is coming from the DOA, money that they get from the federal government.
That's right.
Non-primary entitlement and airport improvement grants. And we did have to go into our 25 allotment in order to cover the additional costs that we had versus what we had estimated it would be. But we're covered.
That's right.
Good deal. I know this is a major priority for the Jetport in order to go ahead and relocate that. Any questions or comments from Mr. Abate? Pleasure of the board. Glad to the consent agenda as well.
Thank you.
Do. Discuss a request to adopt a resolution accepting $1 million drinking water state fund loan. Mr. Tommy Burns, I don't see him today. Would you?
Don't see him, I'll cover it, yes. We have been working on trying to address our copper and lead issues with this grant. We're able to, or the revolving loan fund information, we're able to pursue making some changes and actually digging up lines to confirm whether or not they are lead. Right now, we have a large number that are classified as unknown. This funding will allow us to dig them up, and if they are determined to be lead, do a replacement. So it's really the next step of the law that was requiring us to investigate lead and copper within our system.
Question. Could this be for all over the county?
It is for all of the county, but I will say that most of our system, where we have our issues, is in the city of Irwin, in the town of Irwin. Their system is a lot older than our system, and so that's where we'll find most of this work that will be occurring will be in the town of Irwin.
Questions? Comments? Pleasure of the board to add this to the consent agenda as well.
Thank you.
Go ahead and add that, Madam Clerk. Thank you much. Discuss a request to consider and approve USDA Housing Preservation Grant. Mr. Barry Blevins, good morning, sir.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, board members. This is actually a grant assurance request, and I've got to give you a little bit of background on it because it was confusing to us. We got this grant in 23, executed in 24. They didn't ever provide us a grant assurance for Title VI, which is the normal process with every funding we've ever done. And we are in the middle of a discussion over sort of an audit, but it's a friendly discussion over Title VI, and they indicated this grant assurance. And of course, we looked for it on their website. It was 3 pages away as a other resource, so they never required it, but they are now. So we're just backdating to finish out the grant and have that discussion. Are there any questions on the Title VI? In fact, this is the only assurance that they've required, as far as I can tell.
Be on no match. Go ahead and add this to the consent agenda as well. Very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Discuss non-profit committee bylaws. Mr. Chris Appel, good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. And apologize, it should also be, Melissa, did you also have the, not just the bylaws, but the policy itself? Okay. I just want to make sure we're able to discuss both items. So first will be the bylaws, and really, just minor changes actually to the bylaws themselves. The first change is just on page 4, was Article 8, miscellaneous. All this does is, instead of talk about the conflict of interest policy that would be attached to bylaws, it just references the conflict of interest policy that we've adopted for all county employees, board members, committee members. So that just makes that update. Page 5, obviously I'll have to update the date on the amendment date to whenever the board approves this. So I'll update that, and then just deleting again the separate conflict of interest policy that was attached to that. So that's the bylaws. That's the easy part. Not many changes. The bigger changes are actually to the Harnett County policy for funding nonprofits. So we made some changes mostly to the eligibility criteria, which you'll see in your packet in red there. So adding that the organization shall be registered as a 501c3 with a current license. Religious entities can apply for support for social outreach and charitable services that benefit the community at large, but not for general operating support. The organization must serve Harnett County for obvious reasons. If they do serve multiple counties, you have to make sure that the funding is spent in the county. Organizations must offer programs and services without discrimination based on protected statuses. Nonprofit funding will not be awarded for the following, which is annual fund or capital campaigns, political activity or lobbying, activities that are restricted to members of a particular faith, community, or promote a specific religion, general operating support, loans, reimbursement of costs incurred prior to the start of the county's fiscal cycle, direct benefit of named individuals, and subawards to third parties. So we just added some additional eligibility criteria, mainly to just be compliant with state and federal laws. That's what those updates are for. And then The other change is to application criteria. As you see at the bottom of that page 2, application must include proof of the 501c3 status, and an organization should specify its intended goals and outcomes for the program for which it is seeking funding. So those are the updates to the bylaws and to the funding for nonprofits. So if this board, if you do approve this, and if we do allocate money for nonprofits to go through the committee, this would be the new regulations and bylaws for that.
How is the committee going to be composed? So right now, there is nothing stood up. So in order for us to get this back up and running, how are we going to select the individuals to be on this board?
So the way it's set up now, and we didn't make any change to it, is 5 volunteers appointed by the board, and then 2 county commissioners and county staff is selected by the board. So each one of you have will pick someone from your voting district, and then 2 commissioners, and then whatever staff that you feel is necessary to be able to effectuate this.
Do we have it where we can put it up on the screen? Didn't you send it out to us, what the makeup was?
And it should be, is the bylaws not on there, Melissa? I'm sorry. Right there. Yeah, it's on page 1 at the bottom, members.
There we
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Roll the screen up. I've seen something I wanted to push. Melissa?
Which way?
Roll it up a little. Oh, I know what I'm interested in, the part where you said religious organizations can apply for it.
They can, so long as they're serving the public. Can't use it for operating expenses, capital expenditures, but faith-based groups and churches can apply for funding to be able to provide services to the community at large.
And they must have a 501c3, right?
Yes, they need to be a nonprofit.
Another thing is, the reason I'm asking this question, and I'm questioning it, because we as Harnett County don't provide any kind of recreation for the youth. And I think that's important. When you see Cumberland County, Wake County, and all are providing programs and things to assist this youth, we don't have anything available for that.
We have Western Harnett Youth Rec, which provides tons of activities throughout the year, all the seasons. Also the YMCA, the Sandhills YMCA. We have CBY, which has many programs that are out
I'm
involved
fully aware of the
communities as well,
YMCA out there simply because this board here, you all wasn't here, but the board here, previous, you all provided funding for that YMCA in the western part of the county. And at that time, we provided the funding for them because they were supposed to reach back to this part of the county and provide some kind of recreational benefit for.
And they are what they're doing. They've spread out in the community, and they are with so many organizations now. They're involved with the schools as well. I mean, the YMCA is doing some wonderful things for Harnett County down there, especially for youth rec, which is very much needed, since Western Harnett Youth Rec is just busting at the seams. I mean, and there's not enough to provide for any youth down there. So.
Well, that's good. That's all good, but I want to know exactly, because I was one of the ones that voted for them to receive that funding in the western part of the county. Also, on this side of the county,
Boys and Girls Club.
Boys and Girls Club, yeah, that's a very important organization. But also the organization of the town. I mean, it's amazing what the guy out there do for these young people here in this county, and he's reaching back to the western part of the county. But for some reason, we've never been able to get any funding for that organization since you all did away with the nonprofit committee and the bylaws. And I want to give you kudos because I think you're doing a good thing too. And the responsibility of how to spend that money and how to use that money it relies on us, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm sure we will make the best decisions for the whole county. So I just wanted to bring that out, that's all. And
Yes,
thank you.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I thank you because this is something I've been wanting to see for a long time, but it's not voted on yet. It's not voted on yet.
So what are the next steps in order to get this going so we can start getting applicants?
So, the first step, obviously, we just ask for you to approve the bylaws and the policy itself. In order for the committee to be active, of course, you can make it active whenever you want to. It's been inactive without members because we haven't allocated funding for nonprofits. But it is up to you as a board if you want to go ahead and put a committee together. And anytime you do get a request for funding, I know we've been seeing some requests. If you want to funnel it through the nonprofit committee for a recommendation, you can do that. It's entirely up to the board. So whatever direction you want to give us, we can put together as soon as we approve this, or we can hold on until we allocate some funding to a nonprofit.
So right now, we can go ahead and approve the bylaw.
Yes, I would just ask, go ahead and in the policy, and I apologize, it wasn't that I didn't put it on the agenda, but it should be the bylaws and the policy for funding nonprofits to approve both those documents.
Any further questions or comments? Pleasure of the board.
Consent agenda.
Go ahead and add this to the consent agenda for approval.
Thank you.
All right, discuss Harnett County First Responders Advisory Committee bylaws. You're up again, Mr. Appel.
Yes, sir. So I put together a draft set of bylaws for what is a new committee, which is the Harnett County First Responders Advisory Committee. I won't go over all the bylaws because most of it is just boilerplate language I have in all of our bylaws. But of course, the main parts are involved in the first few sections here. So, I welcome any input on this, but this is based on what I've heard and looking at this, put together a general purpose and duties that you'll see in there, that section 2. So this is not exhaustive, but happy to add some more or take off. But it's to discuss and provide solutions to issues that arise in the fields of law enforcement, fire, emergency medical services, and emergency management. Identify critical funding needs and resources. Develop regional guidance, training, and technical strategies. Promote public outreach, education, and awareness to both first responders and the public. And to promote and enhance collaboration, preparedness, and responsiveness for events, incidents, and disasters. So, again, not an exhaustive list, but just items that we would be in relative to a first responder committee to discuss. And moving on to membership. So as of right now, do have it in 1 through 7, those members. So you'd have one member from the Harnett County Emergency Services Department, one from Harnett County Sheriff's Office, one from Harnett County E911 Communications Center, one member from the Harnett County Municipal Police Department, one member from the Harnett County Fire Chiefs Association, one member from the Harnett County Manager's Office, and a member representing each of the county's 5 voting districts. And then it also contained 2 ex officio non-voting members from the Harnett County Board of Commissioners. So that's what I've come up with as general membership. Again, I welcome any input, whether you want to see more or less members. Obviously, this is a little bit larger committee to try to include all of our first responders. I did not include a representative from each police department, but I could do that. I only did one fire chief because we have a number of fire stations. But I welcome any input. And it should be, I apologize, this should be 11 members. I wrote 10 because originally I added one more, and that was the E911 Communications Center based on Mr. Trout's suggestion. So I'll make that correction.
Well, the Chiefs Association, and spread out all over the county, probably need 2 where we've got east and west representation.
Sure.
North and south, however you want to do it. Eddie, how do you think it's going to be received if we only have one chief of police on there?
Well, it won't necessarily be the chief, it'll be a representative.
Yeah, but I mean, from the PDs.
I think one PD person would be fine. You got one sheriff, one PD.
Okay.
And that's just one ED out of all the 5 municipalities. Have fun picking these.
But that's what I was just thinking. should do it like the Chiefs Association, do two. Come apart.
And if you did two from the police department, that'd give us an odd number again. If we add them, because with the 2 fire chiefs, that'll be 12. If you want to add another police department representative, that would take us up to 13. If you want to have an odd number.
I don't have a problem with that. If
I
that's what
don't, I
you
don't either. That way we can kind of guide that, pick, not have, like, don't have done it early, because they join one another, spread them out a little bit.
And then any other, I mean, anyone to add or to take off, I assume, having citizen members. And I should, I guess, further explain on the district members. I did put on there, should be members with knowledge and experience in the field of law enforcement, fire, emergency services. I did put that, just like we did with our Jetport committee, where beyond that, you should have some kind of understanding of those fields. So, obviously, you don't have to restrict it, but I felt it was probably necessary to have, if you have the citizen members, that they actually are familiar with the topics of first responders.
Do you have on the membership, can they continually serve, or do they have to rotate off? I know you got term limit times, but do they have to be can they be reappointed to the same position again?
Sure. So the way I have it right now, they can serve 2 consecutive full terms,
Okay.
and not including initial terms. So the way I obviously have to set it up to try to get people to rotate off differently, starts off differently. But then there's 2, a full term is 3 years. You can serve consecutive, come off for 1 year, and then come back on for another 6. Again, I don't have to have a waiting period in there, but I just modeled it with a lot of our other committees that we have.
If you keep that in there, then you can have diversity as far as people rotating.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
You mean 6, another 6 with,
I'm sorry?
well, what do you mean by the number 6? I mean,
So-
3 years to rotate off and then come back on for another 3 years.
Yeah, so what I have is a full term is 3 years,
Right.
and you can serve 2 consecutive terms, so a total of 6 years. And
Yeah.
then you gotta have at least a 1-year waiting period before you can come
Before you
back on the
come back
board,
on.
before you can come back on. And then if you have that waiting period, then you could be nominated for another 2 3-year terms. So you could have 6 years on the board, 1 year off, 6 years on. That's the way it could be. Not saying that would happen, but that you just at least have to come off 1 year after your 6 years.
The only one that we don't have on here, and I'm just opening up to talk about it, is we don't have anybody from like the district attorney's office or any, that side of it. I didn't know.
Don't have anybody for district what?
The district attorney's office.
Still couldn't hear you from that door.
DA.
Oh, yeah.
You got me add a member from the district attorney's office.
Although it wouldn't hurt.
Okay. Okay, and then other than membership, obviously I just stated the terms. And again, the remainder of the bylaws, unless you have any questions, again, are just typical of any other bylaws. Anything else that you want to add for purpose, or, I'm sorry?
So we need another one then, right?
Yeah, well, as of right, okay, for membership, yes. If we're adding DA's office, we're now to an even number again. So you could add another one. We could take one off. We could do this like we do with other boards. On here, we do have a member from the Harnett County Manager's Office. Could be removed, and they just be, staff could be present. I'm not trying to take
Either way it
Mr.
works.
Trout off or anything, but
The important part for us is just to be present. Doesn't necessarily have to be a vote.
Yeah, they could be ex officio, just like the,
so make an ex officio member. That'll take us back down to an odd number again, if
Yeah,
you want to do that.
I know that we keep throwing in different members from the departments when this is, supposed to be like an advisory committee. So
Yes, sir.
what about adding more members from the public, which I believe this was initially intended for?
I'm open to whatever you want the membership to
We're
look
getting
like.
further away and we're making this more top heavy with department held people instead of this being an advisory committee from members of the public.
Well, how would you do that without adding a member from each district?
And that's kind of what I'm getting at. If we're going ahead and we're adding a few more members here, another member here from different departments, having staff on there, that are all doing the same things anyway. Why not? It's supposed to be members of the public led. So,
Yeah, if you, as I said, and Commissioner McCoy, right now, the membership does include a representative from each of the 5 districts. So right now, it stands at 5 members from the public. I can add more if you want more members from the public. Right now, it stands at 5.
Well, I think that 5 members from the public is sufficient.
I do not, because, for example, we have 3 districts. Yours is included in that, mine,
No,
and
it's 5
Commissioner
districts.
Morris.
Just,
And we have 3 continuous districts that stretch from one side of the river all the way to the other side. If we're gonna have one person from each district, well, it's almost, shooting ourselves in the foot again. Because, I feel like we're gonna have it stacked on one side and the other.
well, how would you do it?
That's kind of where if you added 2 from each district, you would possibly be able to spread them out a little bit better. I would have somebody, well, you can have somebody on the western side, you can have somebody on this side, you can have somebody on the western side, you can have somebody on this side.
Well, I think if you go ahead and add 2 to each district, then you're always going to have a pretty decent group to meet. Because the smaller your group is, you have, if somebody can't be there, participation or whatever, scheduling. So I'm fine with 2 from each district. If you would, I don't have a problem with that.
That would make my life a little easier. I'm 35 miles across, so to get a fair representation.
Okay.
You'll take this back to the drawing board and come back and.
No, I can come back, but if we, of course, we're playing the numbers of odds and evens. Adding 5 more then takes us back to even again.
I don't think, I'm not worried about that as far as, I think that if it's even, then they got to work together.
And at the end of the day, to be fair, I'd be more concerned if this was more than an advisory committee that voted to approve things. If there's a tiebreaker, they're advisory, so if there's a tiebreaker, there's a tiebreaker, and it comes to y'all for consideration.
Or you could put a simple rule in there that the chair of the committee has the tie-breaking vote.
Or just something like that. But
In that large position as well.
Chairman?
Yeah.
I have one thing that I would actually suggest as I was reviewing this and hearing your talk about adding more citizens. I would like to see us put in as the chair must be one of the citizens rather than a member of staff. So that we make sure that this is led by a citizen, so that the chairman must be a citizen. The vice chair could be a staffer, or a staff person.
I'd be fine with any officer position being a citizen.
You're right. But at least mandate that the chair be one of the citizens, because it's supposed to be, as you mentioned, a citizen advisory board, but have it be led by a citizen rather than a staff member.
But didn't I read in your makeup here that the commissioners appoint the chairman, correct? In this one? Or was that the other committee that we just went through?
it should be other, because I believe the way this one is, chair should be selected by the committee itself.
Okay, all right. I knew one of them did a while ago.
Yeah.
I apologize. I did write it. So I get confused between my bylaws. I did have chairman designated by the commissioners, vice chairs designated by the committee. All other positions be chosen by the committee. The chair, the way I have it, is to be selected by the commissioners. I can change that to the committee.
It doesn't bother me either way, but.
Going back to speak on Mr. Trout's point, I think having any of the executive officers on this committee needs to be a community member.
Not an employee.
Yeah, not an employee. And especially for the reason, say the chair's not there, he may miss, a meeting or 2 or something. And, the vice chair, if this is going to be community led, we need to keep focus on it.
So we have to have someone that's knowledge.
And we're going to be selecting those. The commissioners will be able to select 2 of each in the community. And we'll have applications the same as another boarding committee. We'll be able to select
But now they can be a volunteer fireman or EMS person.
that
that doesn't disqualify.
That would not, per per the bylaws, that would not, as long as you're not an active employee
Yeah, of the county,
of county or
in those capacities.
in these capacities, correct? Do you want to leave though with having knowledge or experience
Oh, yes.
in those? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll be able to go through that, obviously, with that.
Okay. Do you want to leave the chairperson selection up to you all as a board? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would like, if at all possible, for him to have this ready to vote on the next meeting so that we can we've talked about it and we need to get it active.
Is it possible for you to have this?
I can make these corrections and send it back out. If there's any other input between now and then, happy to hear it, but I wrote down what y'all said.
Put it on for further discussion for next week, give him time to do his thing, and then we can.
Only other
discuss it.
With the possibility of a vote on it.
Well, it's a voting meeting next
Okay.
week, so yeah,
Good
we
deal.
should be good to go.
And Chair, the only other question I have, is there anything else regarding the purpose of the items I listed that you want me to change, add, or is there anything to the purpose that,
What is read out the purpose?
and again, it doesn't mean they can't, I'm sorry.
Read out the purpose to everybody.
Yes, again, the purpose, and again, this is not an exclusive list, so even if it's not listed, doesn't mean they can't talk about it, but it just outlines to give them guidance as to what should be discussed during these meetings. There's 5 items under Article 2 to discuss and provide solutions to issues that arise in the fields of law enforcement, fire, emergency medical services, and emergency management. Identify critical funding needs and resources. Develop regional guidance, training, and technical strategies. Promote public outreach, education, and awareness to both first responders and the public, and promote and enhance collaboration, preparedness, and responsiveness for events, incidents, and disasters.
What's good?
Of course, that can be changed at any time to add other duties.
Absolutely, and like I said, just because it's not listed, doesn't mean it can't be an agenda item at the committee to discuss other topics. This is just to give some guidance to them as they meet of things that they should be thinking about in their discussions.
So we'll go ahead and add this for a separate line item next week, and if you would work on this homework a little bit.
Yes, sir. No problem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Discuss a request for permission to apply for the FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. Mr. Coley Price, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Hope all is doing well. So this morning, we'd like to request on behalf of Soil and Water Conservation to apply for the FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant in the amount of $820,000 to support planned work for the Riverside Drainage Improvement Project. Funding will be used for final modeling and engineering needed for project construction. The grant is 75% FEMA and 25% state with zero match required. There is also a $10,000 application fee that, if you approve this, would be used ARPA funds that was set aside for this project to pay for that. So I just want to make you aware of that. And let's see, it's also requesting the resolution designated Brent and myself as the applicant's agent. So let me give you just a brief summary of where we're at with the Riverside community. So last month, we were able to blow up the 400-foot beaver dam, which was quite a feat. I think they filmed that as far as with the drone, so I'll see if I can get that to you as far as how that happens. We've gone through a lot the last 6 months with the federal administration with all the cuts. One of the cuts was the beaver management program. The gentleman took the severance package, so we had to replace him. So that was one of the reasons why, the delay happened there. And then the FEMA cuts as well, as far as what we're seeing from a federal grant, but we feel this is right in line with what you've seen as far as the hydraulic model and how that's been put in play and how that's the benchmark for this particular project. I did get DOT out there last week to start with jetting out the pipes as far as the cross-line pipes. So I'm in contact with them. I've got a meeting that I'm trying to schedule in the middle of this month with division engineer, district engineer, hydraulic team, and the maintenance team for Division 6 with myself and Lynn and Withers Ravenel. So we're going to look at the process, follow the model, see what has happened from the beaver dam being blown up, from the cross-line pipes being being cleaned out, and then we'll look at either upsizing the pipes or replacing the pipes that need to be replaced in the right-of-way that you mentioned quite a few times, which I totally agree. That's why that model is so important to have in place, because it benchmarks everything that we're doing, and you've got something to look back on. Whether we have a dry time or a wet time, you know exactly where you stand. So we're kind of excited about that process being put into place. And let's see if there's anything else. I think that was the main thing. So you've got the FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant and the resolution that I'm asking for your approval on this morning. Any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Questions, comments? Wish the board to go ahead and add this consent agenda as well. Go ahead and add this to the consent agenda as well, Madam Clerk. Thank you very much, sir.
I have a comment.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
I'm just waiting for the board to vote. But I thank you.
Yeah, sure.
All the work that you have done, do we still have some of that FEMA money, right?
The ARPA money you
ARPA
do,
money,
yeah. So
ARPA money.
what we were going to do is try to go after this grant, as we mentioned in the process. If you'll remember, when we did the hydraulic model, we put 6 steps in place, and that's the steps that we are following. But there is ARPA money that will supplement some of that. So we're going to see if this grant could come into play. If we could get this grant, that will work wonders for that particular area. So
Thank you so much.
Sure.
It's been a long process. It's been 4 years, over 4 years, and finally we can see some success. I'm sure the citizens here that is hearing this is grateful for the work that you've done, for the work that this board has done, because this project has been going on for decades.
well, I appreciate the board's support, and I appreciate the patience of the residents. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and see what we can get with the grant. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
your support.
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank y'all. I need to see y'all back there. That's right. Good seeing y'all.
Okay, before we review applications to serve on board and committees, we're going to go up and consider the addition, or we're going to talk about the letter of support for the Buffalo Lake Road and Alpine Drive roundabout project. I had a recommendation come through regarding a letter of support for Buffalo Lake Road and Alpine Drive. I don't know if any of the board members remember, several years ago, a couple years ago at this point, we went from not having anything but a one-way stop to a three-way stop kind of there now. For the first several months, we had many, many issues with accidents, and I really think it was attributed to people not being familiar with the stop signs and stuff there, and, just blowing through, and we had a lot of near fatalities. Thank goodness I don't believe we had any fatalities at that intersection, but we were looking at other ideas at that time, whether or not to put a roundabout there, or even, possible stoplight in the future. I don't believe that there have been anywhere near as many accidents, nor any of them as bad. So I would like the board to discuss whether or not we actually want to do this letter of support, or if we can possibly get DOT to fund another project with this funds that they would use. Being part of FAMPO, seeing, where a lot of the state money is going towards the western North Carolina because of Hurricane Helene, I think that we can probably better utilize our local resources. There is a major concern for me, and it has been for a lot of people out off of Ray Road and Nursery Road. Many accidents, constantly, very bad ones. It's right outside of Anderson Creek Academy, and it's also right outside of Anderson Creek Club. So I would probably implore the board to consider a letter of support, utilize this money instead if they have this set aside for a roundabout project, for that project instead, because I know that money was an issue and that project got postponed and pushed to the right. So, pleasure of the board.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't we have a roundabout out there already?
We have 2 roundabouts. It's on Overhills Drive, right in front of Overhills Middle High and Elementary School. Yeah, well, it's kind of right before. Yeah.
I realize it's a very congested area. If there's anything to make it more safer for the citizens.
So do you have the letter of support that was drawn up?
I do. I don't have it in the packet, but I've got it right here.
So who was it that had been requesting this for a letter?
It was the DOT that requested it.
Okay. My recommendation would not to sign this letter of support and to see if we can go ahead and approach the avenue of getting a stoplight out towards Anderson Creek instead.
Say that again now.
I would recommend that we not give a letter of support for the roundabout for Buffalo Lake Road and Alpine Drive and see if DOT will utilize these funds towards a stoplight that was actually a project that kind of got bumped down on their list out towards Nursery Road and Ray Road.
I'm fine. And I'll see what I can do in my meetings about getting that vote.
Yeah, I'll talk with Richie and Philip as well, so we can see if we can go ahead and maybe move these funds somewhere where it'd be better utilized.
What you're saying is
I think that
transfer the
stoplight is
funds.
really needed there.
You use it.
Stoplight is really needed.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
That'd be a FAMPO project, right?
Correct, yeah. Yep. Yes, sir. So I'm going to go ahead and speak with them as well, but if we can, I'll reach out to these guys, see if that's something we can work, but.
I think it'd be good to have that conversation before we made a definite decision.
And as far as the roundabout also, because I mean, that's kind of where they were wanting that letter of support. I don't think it's conducive to the area. I mean, you've got Buffalo Lake Road with a food line right there where they're trying to put it. Some commercial things to where, larger trucks have to come through. You got Crestview, Peachtree, further down that road from Spout Springs Fire Department, and having that vehicle articulate. I mean, I just don't personally see it. Maybe if the DOT would like to come in and give us some justification if it's really something they want high on their priority list. But from what I see down on the western side, we have things that are more priority than this is.
Would you think that a letter from the board to DOT, with all the information and suggestions that we have, would help?
Yeah, I think if we can draft up a letter with pretty much everything that was just said.
Yes, well, so you would like to make a recommendation, the funding for the Buffalo Lake Road Alpine Drive be utilized for the construction of a streetlight at Ray Road and Nursery Road.
Correct, yeah, and that's actually on their priority list as well, but it's a little bit further down the ticker.
So we'll redraft the letter, present it as a separate item at the next meeting rather than on the consent. We'll put it as a separate item at the next meeting for the board to vote with new language on our recommendation.
Outstanding.
I think the Nursery Road and Ray Road has been approved. They just haven't dated it yet.
Correct.
Because of funding. Yep. All right, so moving on, review applications to serve on boards and committees. We have a plethora of applications, and they are from District 3 and 4 only for the Harnett County Public Library Board of Trustees. Before the meeting, I had spoke with the commissioners of these districts, and they'd give me the recommendations on who they would like to select. We have 2 vacancies. One is for District 3 and one is for District 4. So the recommendation would be for Miss Lisa Denning from District 3. Does anybody have an issue with adding her to the Library Board of Trustees?
That's not my district, so I don't.
We'll go ahead and add Miss Denning. And then from District 4, Miss Chrissy McLean. Is there any objection to her serving on the Library Board of Trustees as well? No? We'll go ahead and add her for approval next week as well, Madam Clerk.
Will do. Thank you, guys.
Thank you much. County
Mr.
Manager?
Chairman, on the last committee, I've only gotten one application. I would like to give it another week to see if we can get at least one more in there. I'd like to have a look at it and see.
Thank you. Yeah, my apologies. For the Harnett County Commission for Women and
You only
Youth,
got one for this.
we had one application. It was a District
for this
4
committee?
vacancy.
No, it's.
And we currently have 3 vacancies. So, Miss Barbara, if you have anybody also, or no, My apologies. Vice Chairman Morris, if you have
Not
anybody
like
also for a recommendation for the Commission of Women and
Yeah.
Yeah, District 2,
We'll see if
4,
we
and
can find
5.
something. Somebody.
Sounds good. We'll go ahead and hold off on that other application and review that next week as well. All right, good deal. County Manager's Report, Mr. Trout.
Mr. Chairman, I have just one item, and that is just to inform the board that with the budget being approved and the new fiscal year starting today, staff has been moving forward with advertising the new positions that were approved by the board in order to get them filled in a timely manner. And other projects that were approved will begin to work on setting those and moving those forward.
Very nice. Outstanding. I understand we have a need for closed session.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I move the board go into closed session for the following purposes: to discuss a certain personnel matter. This motion is made pursuant to North Carolina General Statute, Section 143 through 18.11A6.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to go into closed session. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please
I
say
just
aye.
wanna say-
All right, we'll move into
I got
closed
it.
session.
Where we go?
I have a motion and a second on the floor, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Session, I'll reopen.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion second to adjourn, we are adjourned.